Welcome to our Be Healthy Reset Tools for Consistent Balanced Living. This is week 3 of our reset week and actually month program. And I wanted to hope that everybody's having a good week and that you are feeling more energized and feeling a lot healthier. Tonight our topic is on healthy fats and how they promote weight loss. For some of you, this topic may be life-changing and or confusing. There is a lot of conflicting information out about fats. The information that I'm going to be referring to tonight comes from 2 leaders in the field of healthy fats and health in general. The first one is Dr. Mary Eng, who is a world-renowned biochemist and nutritionist, who is also best known for her pioneering research on healthy fats and oils and her protests about trans fats that began more than 30 years ago. She has given testimony before Congress in the topics of fats related to health and was not happy with their final decision on the topic related to these kinds of fats and the fats they chose to promote. Sally Fallon is the founder and president of the Western Price Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization devoted to helping people put into practice the most health-promoting approaches to nutrition based on the life-giving foods that have nourished humanity for centuries. 2 of the books that you may find helpful on the topic of healthy fats are Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon and Eat Fat, Lose Fat by Sally Fallon and Dr. Mary Eng. So as in the other weeks, we're going to talk about a core principle, and tonight our core principle relates to fats. Fats from animal and vegetable sources provide a concentrated source of energy in the diet. They also provide the building blocks for cell membranes and a variety of hormones and hormone-like substances. Fats, as part of a meal, slow down nutrient absorption so that we no longer feel hungry. They act as carriers for the important fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Dietary fats are needed for the conversion of carotene to vitamin A, for mineral absorption, and for a host of other processes. Fats are just as important as the micronutrients that you need in your system to maintain your health. Many people today really don't understand the importance of these micronutrients. Micronutrients are the vitamins that feed our cells. They are the teeny pieces that get into the cells. If the cell isn't healthy, then the body won't be healthy. As you can see from above, healthy fats slow your body's ability to absorb these micronutrients. This is key as they carry the important fat-soluble vitamins throughout your body to your cells. Fats are a necessary part of a healthy life. Good quality fats are the key to weight loss, health, and energy. Those who do not eat enough good fats over a long period of time may develop a variety of health issues such as low energy, difficulty in concentration, depression, weight gain, and mineral deficiencies, which in turn can lead to more degenerative diseases such as cancer. Dr. Pritikin from the Pritikin diet may have saved himself from heart disease by eating his low-fat, no-fat protocol, but this low-fat diet did not help him recover from leukemia. He died in the prime of his life of suicide when he realized his regimen was not working. We shouldn't have to die of either heart disease or cancer or consume a diet that makes us depressed, which is what happened in his case. Today, the diet dictocrats advise us to limit fats to 25 to 30% of our caloric intake, which is about 2.5 ounces or 5 tablespoons of fat per day. This is a 10% decrease in the fats that were consumed back in the 1970s. They say that the decrease of these fats and the avoidance of animal fat is the key to perfect health. Most people would be surprised to learn that there is, in fact, very little evidence to support this claim, that a diet low in cholesterol and saturated fat actually reduces death from heart disease or in any way increases one's lifespan. What is interesting to note is that 50% of all heart attacks have nothing to do with elevated cholesterol. Homocysteine in one system is often the real problem, but that is a whole different discussion for a different webinar. The notion that fats cause heart disease as well as cancer is just plain wrong. However, it is true that some fats are bad for us, and that is what we are going to discuss now. Fats are a class of organic substances that are not soluble in water. In simple terms, fatty acids are chains of carbon atoms with hydrogen atoms filling the available bonds. Most fat in our bodies and in the foods we eat is in the form of triglycerides. Elevated triglyceride levels in the blood have been positively linked to heart disease, but these do not come directly from dietary fats. They are made in the liver from excess sugar. Did you catch that? They are made in the liver from excess sugars that have not been used for energy. The source of these excess sugars is any food containing carbohydrates, partially refined sugar, and white flour. So our culprits in everything that you've been learning are the partially refined sugars and white flour. And these things quickly turn to sugar in our system and have to go through our liver, which our liver has a very difficult time processing. So this is why we're trying to get you to understand why low glycemic diets are so important and why the last 2 weeks webinar are stepping stones to this week's. Fats are broken down into saturated fats, trans fats, monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and omega-3 fats, which and we are briefly going to touch on these different fats right now. A fatty acid is saturated when all available carbon bonds are occupied by a hydrogen atom, as in over here. These fats are highly stable because of the strong carbon links and are saturated with hydrogen. This means they do not normally go rancid, nor do they oxidize under heat. This is extremely important when using oils to cook. Saturated fats easily pack together and are solid at room temperature and are found mostly in animal fat and tropical oils. Your body can also make these fats from carbohydrates that we will discuss in other slides. So the most important fats that you want to focus on are coconut oil, okay, that's a really big one. Saturated fat in butter, because it does not oxidize as quickly as some others, and those healthy fats that are in fish and avocados. Trans fats are a type of molecule produced by a process called partial hydrogenation, which rearranges the hydrogen atoms in a liquid unsaturated fatty acid to produce an unnatural fat, which, like saturated fat, is solid at room temperature. During the process of partial hydrogenation, one of the hydrogenated atoms in a pair is removed to the other side of the molecule, forming a trans fatty acid, such as an oleic acid, a man-made trans fatty acid with 2 hydrogen atoms across from each other, or trans, which means across. This causes your molecules to straighten out so that they pack together easily and form a solid fat at room temperature. This is the kind of fat that manufacturers use for frying or to make cookies, crackers, and other baked goods. It is less expensive for manufacturers to use these partially hydrogenated vegetable oils for these kinds of products than natural saturated fats like butter, palm oil, or coconut oil. Unfortunately, when we use these trans fatty acids and they're incorporated into the cell membranes, they are missing the hydrogen pair needed for chemical reaction to occur. And the result is dysfunction and chaos on the cellular level. And as you will learn in next week when we discuss supplementation, this is extremely important because all disease starts with inflammation at the cellular level. Because these trans fats are in most processed foods, with very little exceptions, the only way to get them out of your diet is to avoid them. Instead, revert back to preparing your own foods using quality ingredients. And yes, this may not be convenient, but neither is a health crisis. Just because something says trans fat on it or trans fat free, this does not mean no trans fats. Please do not fall for this bogus label. You have to read the labels, everyone. You have to. Partially hydrogenated means trans fat. Do not purchase products that have partially hydrogenated oils on the ingredient list. In a later class, we are going to offer segments on reading labels, but for now, what we need to understand is that these fats lower or deplete your good cholesterol and raise your bad cholesterol. By law, if a product has less than 0.5 grams of trans fat, right here, you can see it, per serving, they can legally say it's trans fat free on the label. This is sneaky, and much of the public is not aware of this little sneaky fad. But think about the effects of children today that are consuming large amounts of processed foods from a very young age. This is showing to be a detrimental in our kids, and the rate of childhood obesity is in epidemic proportions at this point. So please read the labels and make sure that there is nothing on the labels that say partially hydrogenated oils. There are many dangers associated with trans fats, and we are going to go over a few of them right now. So here we have heart disease. And heart disease is one of our conditions that is talked a whole lot about related to fats. What you need to understand that in heart disease, trans fats raise the level of atherosclerosis or arteriosclerosis, which is an atherogenic lipoprotein. It's a tongue twister. Saturated fats lower this lipoprotein. This protein, along with refined grains and refined sugars, is key in developing atherosclerosis. Please note, saturated fats are not the cause of our atherosclerosis. It's the trans fat factor combined with these processed foods. And you can refer to this in the book that I gave you at the beginning called Eat Fat, Lose Fat. On page 22 to 24, she talks about this. In the immune function, which we have a lot of immune issues today, we see a lot of different immunity issues here at the clinic. Trans fats interfere with both B and T cell functions, which are natural killer cells, thus reducing the immune response. So saturated fats, healthy, the good kind of saturated fats will enhance, and trans fats interfere with immune function. Omega-3, trans fats inhibit omega-3s. Where saturated fats boost the omega-3s, many people are deficient in these key fatty acids today. These omega-3 oils are one of the most important ingredients in Alzheimer's prevention. They are also essential for the development of the brain of the baby in utero. These fats cross the blood-brain barrier and help the developing brain to grow. Women who eat a lot of trans fats during pregnancy can create problems for a developing fetus. Problems that may occur could be low birth weight, deficiencies in polyunsaturated fats that are associated with the brain development. And this is why it's really important for people to take the omega-3 fish oils. Lung function is the next one. Foods containing trans fats are associated with increased asthma. Saturated fats are needed for proper functioning of the lungs, and asthma has become a huge problem today, especially with our youth, from exercise-induced asthma to chronic conditions. So saturated fat is going to improve the function. Number 5 is weight gain. Trans fat contributes to weight gain. Some types of trans fat boost metabolism and help with weight loss, such as coconut oil. A special ingredient in coconut oil, known as medium-chain fatty acids, do not need bile salts located in the gallbladder to digest this kind of fat. These fats are easily digested. So if you have had your gallbladder removed and have a hard time digesting fats, this fat will be your best friend. Coconut oil also contains lauric acid, which is a proven antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal agent that is also found in mother's milk. This is converted in your body to a substance called monolaurin and helps you defend against viruses, bacteria, and other pathogens and strengthens your immune system, protecting you from a wide variety of diseases. Highly protective lauric acid should be called a conditionally essential fatty acid because it is made only by the mammary gland and not in the liver like other saturated fats. You can get it from these 3 dietary sources: in small amounts, butterfat; in larger amounts, coconut oil; and in palm kernel oil. And our number 6 is cancer. Cancer, the trans fats that are associated with an increase in cancer and a decrease in fertility. This is really a big issue. Trans fats interfere with enzymes the body uses to protect itself from cancer. Sources of saturated fats such as butter and meat fats that come from grass-fed beef contain many nutrients that fight against cancer and promote fertility. There is a nutrient that is only found in grass-fed beef that actually helps to eat up the cancer cells. So it is very important that if you are going to eat any kind of animal protein, that you do get grass-fed protein, grass-fed beef. So here we have mono and polyunsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats have one double bond in the form of 2 carbon atoms double bonded to each other and therefore lack 2 hydrogen atoms. Your body makes monounsaturated fatty acids from saturated fatty acids and uses them in many ways. Like saturated fats, they are relatively stable. They do not go rancid easily and can be used in cooking. The monounsaturated fatty acid most commonly used in our food is oleic acid, and this is the main component of olive oil. This is why we recommend olive oil. And you can also find this monounsaturated fat in almonds, pecans, cashews, peanuts, and avocados, which are also recommended on this diet that we are doing. Next is our polyunsaturated fats, and they have 2 or more pairs of double bonds and therefore lack 4 or more hydrogen atoms. Your body cannot make these fatty acids, and thus they are essential. We must obtain these fatty acids, or EFAs, from the foods we eat. Polyunsaturated fats have links or turns in the position of the double bond and hence do not pack well or pack easily together. They remain liquid even when they're refrigerated. The unpaired electrons in the double bonds make these oils highly reactive, and they can go rancid very easily, particularly omega-3 linoleic acid. These oils should never be heated or used in cooking. Vegetable oils from northern climates are your prime source of these polyunsaturated oils. But vegetable oils from the tropics, such as coconut oil, are highly saturated, and this is why you need to know these oils. So our bodies do require different types of fat for optimal health. We need saturated fats from long, short, and medium chains. The long-chain fatty acids from animals depend on how they are raised, whether they are grass-fed or grain-fed. Remember, we want the grass-fed cattle. They cause the grain-fed are the ones that generally cause the health issues. However, saturated short-chain and medium-chain fatty acids, which come from plant oils, support well-being and are used for energy by our bodies. Coconut oil would be one of your best high-temperature cooking oils. Its smoke point is 465 to 480 degrees. The smoke point is when the oils begin to break down. When the oil, for an oil, it varies depending on the origin and the refinement of the oil. That's why we have, each oil has its own different smoke point. And I'm only going to give you the smoke points that you really should be cooking with because they have the highest cooking points, which means they don't break down and become rancid. So these smoke points are known as the thermal oxidation and indicate that carcinogens are being released into the air and free radicals are forming in the oil. So when they go above the smoke points that they are, and the way you can tell this is if you see your oil smoking or turning brown in the pan, you need to get rid of that oil before you cook in it because that means it's gone rancid. These broken down oils that enter your body are entered as free radicals. Oil that begins to smoke should be discarded and replaced with fresh oil for optimal health and taste. Almond oil smoke point is 420 degrees. It is used primarily in salads, baked goods, and granola. Olive oil smoke point is 390 degrees. Virgin olive oil will have a higher smoke point than extra virgin olive oil. This oil is used in a lot of baking and salads. Sesame oil is rich in vitamin E and plant sterols, and it is great for making marinades, stir-frying, Asian dishes, and your refined oils will tend to have a higher smoke point than your unrefined oils. So here we have another example of ratings on smoke points. This chart gives you the different smoke points, and this is something that we will send out so that you all can make a copy of this. It's a very important document to have so that you're not cooking with oils that are becoming rancid and causing free radicals in your system. Okay, this is another one that I actually like. This is 7 easy substitutions. Many times I'm asked, what can I substitute for X? So here are some of the recommendations. And remember, at the beginning of this class, we talked about things that are simple, small steps that we do consistently over time. Those are the things that are going to make the changes that will help us to develop health for the long haul. So here is a list of things that you can substitute. So for mayonnaise, you can mush up avocado, you can put slices of avocado on something, or you can mush it up and put a little bit of lemon juice in it and spread it just like you would spread mayonnaise. And it's actually really tasty. I've done it. I actually do this a lot. This is one of my favorite go-tos right now. Instead of using cow's milk, you can use the unsweetened almond milk or even coconut milk. Or they actually do have a combination coconut almond milk out there now, which is really a good substitute. Instead of Splenda or NutraSweet, please, please, please don't use these. These are poisons. These actually change your the chemistry in your brain, and they can cause depression. There's all kinds of health issues, and here at the clinic, we really recommend people to stay away from these. These are chemicals. They're not sugars. So in substitute, we could use a substitute pure stevia, and I like the Sweet Leaf brand. That is actually my favorite brand of stevia. I feel that one does not have an aftertaste. And you can get it in different flavors. You can get a lemon flavor. You can get a variety of different flavors in it. And most of the stores at this point are carrying that. Good Foods Grocery carries it. Kroger carries it. Whole Food carries it. Instead of peanut butter, we like nut butters that are almond butter, cashew butter, walnut butter. They have a ton of these now out on the market now. Peanuts are actually not a nut. They are actually a legume, and they are highly processed. So this is something that if you can at all stay away from, this would be a good thing to avoid, and pick up some of the other nuts and try them as a go-to. Instead of sour cream, we recommend you use Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt has high protein. It contains billions of gut-free probiotics, and most of the time, if you get the sugar-free, it tastes pretty close to what sour cream tastes like. If you want something crunchy to chew on, a lot of people will go to potato chips or some kind of a corn chip. We recommend that you get some kale chips and try those. They are very crunchy. They actually are low glycemic, and at the stores now they come in different flavors. They can be real spicy, or they can be mild. They're not a very difficult product actually to make either. You can make those in your oven at like 250 degrees by putting a little oil in your pan, spreading oil on the leaves, and letting them bake at like 200 for about an hour. And you can put different spices on them. Sea salt instead of table salt. Table salt is heated and stripped of the minerals, and this is one of the things that we have tried to talk a whole lot about, is how important minerals are in your diet. Many people are mineral deficient, and this is one of the things that is just key when it comes to getting healthy, is making sure that you have enough minerals in your system that are naturally occurring. So this next thing is some myths and truths, and I like to go over this because many of you probably have heard some of these and will want to give you the truth behind it. Cholesterol and saturated fat clogs your arteries. I am sure that many people have heard that, and that it can you're more prone to heart attacks. But young and middle-aged men with cholesterol levels of over 300 are slightly more at risk for heart attacks. Those who have cholesterol levels just below 300 are at no greater risk than those whose cholesterol is very low. Both extremes are very bad, and that's what people don't understand. You don't want really high cholesterol, and you don't want really low cholesterol. For elderly men and women of all ages, high cholesterol is associated with a longer lifespan. So here we have cholesterol and saturated fat that clogs your arteries. There is very little cholesterol or saturated fat in the arterial plaque. Most of the material is a calcium deposit akin to lime, and most of the fatty acids are unsaturated. So that's really what's causing your arteries to be clogged. Here's another myth. Eating saturated fat and cholesterol-rich foods will cause cholesterol levels to rise and make people more susceptible to heart disease. Many studies show no relationship between diet and cholesterol levels. There is no evidence that saturated fat and cholesterol-rich food contribute to heart disease. As Americans have cut back on saturated fat and cholesterol-rich foods, rates of heart disease have gone up. Myth: cholesterol-lowering drugs have saved many lives. The truth: in the two most recent trials involving over 10,000 subjects, cholesterol lowering did not result in any improvement in the outcome. And that is a very big surprise to a lot of people. Here's another myth. Countries that have a high consumption of animal fat and cholesterol have higher rates of heart disease. The truth: there are many exceptions to this observation, such as France and Spain. Furthermore, an association called a risk factor is not the same as a cause. In wealthy countries where people eat a lot of animal foods, many other factors exist that can contribute to heart disease. So if it isn't cholesterol, what causes these heart issues and heart disease? Many scientists have put forth valid theories for the epidemic of heart disease in Western societies, and they include these things. Deficiency of vitamins A and D. And in the 1930s, rates of heart disease rose during periods of the year when the levels of these fat-soluble vitamins in local butter went down. So deficiencies in, again, micronutrients that are feeding your cells is a big issue. Here's some other deficiencies. B6, B12, and folic acid, so these are your B vitamins, can also lead to elevated levels of homocysteine. Remember, homocysteine is really the issue. It's not cholesterol, a marker for heart disease. Trans fatty acids. There is a link to heart disease when consuming saturated fats with trans fatty acids. Saturated fats actually protect against heart disease in many ways, but not trans fatty acids. Mineral deficiencies can cause heart issues. Magnesium is one of the leading causes of heart disease and heart attacks. Magnesium is used in over 600 systems of our body. And what is very unique is that if you're not taking magnesium today as part of a supplement, you are not getting enough because the foods that we have today lack it. And the stress levels in our life, if you exercise at all, if you have any kind of health issue, you are depleting this. Magnesium is being used over and over and over. So it is really vital that you make sure that you take a good supplement that contains magnesium in it, which the USANA products do have a good amount of magnesium, as well as copper, vanadium, are a few other minerals that are vitally needed. Milk pasteurization. Heart disease may increase with pasteurization as compared to unpasteurized milk. This is a process where the fat particles of cream are strained through tiny pores under great pressure. The resulting fat particles are so small that they stay in suspension rather than raised to the top of the milk. This makes the fat and the cholesterol more susceptible to rancidity and oxidation, and some research indicates that homogenized fats may contribute to these heart diseases. Stress is also a huge factor when it comes to heart disease. After people that have been with long periods of stress, which deplete many of the micronutrients, which we just talked about as in magnesium, this can be a problem. I knew actually of a man that was a runner, and he exercised excessively, thinking that the overtraining was what he needed to increase his health. But often these long periods of running and exercise and overtraining actually deplete many of our micronutrients, such as your magnesium and your EFAs, which is your fish oil, your coenzyme Q10, and they can cause our systems to break down. Magnesium is used to relax these muscles, while calcium causes our muscles to contract. And these are some more topics that we'll discuss next week on the vitamin webinar. But it is very important for you to understand this in relationship to heart disease. So here we have vital roles of cholesterol. Cholesterol is produced by almost every cell in the body. Cholesterol in the cell membranes makes cells waterproof, so there can be different chemistry on the inside and the outside of the cell. Cholesterol is nature's repair substance. It's used to repair wounds, including tears and irritations in the arteries. Many important hormones are made of cholesterol, including hormones that regulate mineral metabolism and blood sugar. There again, the blood sugar issues that many people are having today, and why we can't seem to get off of sugar is often related to a mineral deficiency. Hormones that help us deal with stress and all of the sex hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, all key issues. Cholesterol is vital to the function of the brain and the nervous system. Cholesterol protects us against depression, and it plays a role in the utilization of serotonin and the body's feel-good chemical. The bile salts needed for the digestion of fats are made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is a precursor of vitamin D, which is formed by the section of ultraviolet or UVB light on the cholesterol and in the skin. Cholesterol is a powerful antioxidant that protects us against free radicals and therefore against cancer. And lastly, cholesterol, especially LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, helps to fight infection. So even though LDL, it does have a role, you just don't want it elevated very high, but it does have a role. So in conclusion, our health idea, or our Be Healthy idea for this section, is how these healthy fats, your take-home, basically the takeaway for this section, is how these healthy fats get into your diet is really key. So you want to cook with these oils, and you want to maintain a smoke point really of 350 degrees or above. So your key fats to cook with would be coconut oil, sesame oil, grapeseed oil. You can also use some slivered nuts, sesame seeds, or any kind of almonds over your salads instead of bacon or croutons. That would give you some healthy fat. You can also use handfuls of nuts instead of potato chips. You can also use seeds. Seeds or nuts are real good substitutes as healthy snacks. Let's use some organic nut butters on your apples and celery instead of peanut butter. So that would be walnut butter, almond butter would be a couple ideas. And using avocados on your sandwiches instead of cheese, or avocado spread with some, crush it down and add some lemon juice to it so that it makes it a nice spread instead of a mayonnaise. And preparing fish instead of meat 2 times a week. Because remember, we do not get enough EFAs, and this is one of the reasons it's important to take a really good quality fish oil, because fish oil cannot be gotten from any food except fish. So if you are not taking a supplement that has EPA in it and DHA, you are not getting some really important micronutrients that can help with brain fog. They can boost your brain activity, as well as keep you nice and healthy. So this ends the webinar for tonight. And if you have any questions related to this webinar, please post them in the forum below. We are actually going to post this on the Facebook group so that you can watch it there, as well as a link will be sent to you so that you can look at it in both places. And if you have any questions, you can ask them in the Facebook forum. Have a good night.